Hi, my name is Leah McCausland, and I am a graduate student at Morningside. I am also a teacher in Davenport School District, and the title of my research project was the impact of 6-minute solutions on early elementary special education students' reading fluency. The statement of the problem is that a lot of students are not proficient readers. According to Carlson 2013, 70% of high schoolers are not proficient in reading. 90% of students who are referred to special education are due to reading, according to Landa and Barbetta 2017. Why me? I chose this topic because I was looking for an intervention that incorporated peer interaction in order to build students' fluency. 6-minute solutions is an intervention that was suggested to me by one of the specialists in our district, and it was successful at different grade levels, so I thought that I would try it at a younger grade level. Some literature review that supports 6-minute solutions are about repeated readings. Repeated readings are intended to have the same short passage read over and over multiple times to build students' fluency. The first article I found was by Landa and Barbetta 2018. It was conducted with 3rd and 5th grade students, and the student who raised the score the most was by 30 words per minute, and the student with the least growth still raised their score by 14 words per minute. Another article that I found was by Castueta and Cubina 2010. This was research done with 2 4th graders and a 2nd grader. The students suggested that the repeated readings was their favorite intervention during that research study. Another study done with repeated readings was by Hafseda Du and Daly 2010. This was done with one student. Her baseline score was 11 words per minute, and then she ended with between 25 to 35 words per minute. So she raised her score quite a bit during that short intervention period. Another article that I started to research was repeated readings and paired readings. So repeated readings, those passages read over and over, and then paired with paired reading, which is 2 students reading together to help each other become better readers and give each other feedback in order to help them. The first one that I found was by Joseph and Jovetta, 2016. This was, once again, a repeated reading and paired reading done with 16 to 17-year-old students, and this raised their fluency scores by 21%. Another study was done by Lee, 2014. This was with 105 third grade students, and the pretest score was 64 words and the post-test score was 71 words. The last article that I found was by Ralphdale and et al., 2011, and this was done with 89 kindergarten students, and the intervention group that used repeated readings and paired reading actually increased their scores much more than the control group that did not receive it, and the effect size of that intervention was 0.30 to 0.50. Repeated readings and paired reading support Vygotsky's theory of the social cultural theory. The gap in the research so far is that most studies focused on fluency with older students rather than younger students, and it was in the general education setting rather than the special education setting. Some goals and objectives for my study. The objective of this study was to determine if 6-minute solutions, a paired reading and repeated reading intervention, would increase early elementary special education students' reading scores. It was hypothesized that the early elementary special education students' reading scores would increase when provided the 6-minute solution opposed to the standard reading instruction. The variables I used were, the independent variable was the 6-minute solutions for standard reading instruction. The dependent variable was reading fluency, and I used the FAST-CBM to monitor the reading fluency. I also used an A/B research to determine the impact of my 6-minute solution. The results of this study can be used to help teachers make the decision about using repeated readings and paired readings to help improve student scores, and also will help me determine if I'm going to use this in my future, in my classroom. The methods. The participants that I used were 10 students in the first and second grade, 6 male and 4 female, 4 first graders and 6 second graders. All students had IEPs with reading goals, and 3 students were Caucasian and 7 were African Americans, and then all the students were in a low-income school. The materials that were used were the 6-Minute Solutions, a reading fluency program. You can see this yellow book on the page. In this book you can find the whole interaction of how 6-Minute Solutions is run, so the whole procedures, and then you can find all the passages that you can do, plus graphs for the students. You can also see folders on the PowerPoint. Students will use those to organize their materials. They will put their passages in there for the whole week. And then you see pencils. The pencils will be used to mark on their passages to give feedback to the partner and their stopping point. You see colored pencils. They'll use colored pencils to color in their graphs for how many words they were able to read that day. You also see a timer, which is used to help track the 1-minute sessions throughout the 6 minutes. You also see FAST-CBM is what I use to measure the student's progress. I used a 10-week intervention phase with in the special education setting, and I did it 5 days a week for 6 minutes a day. According to my procedures, I did minute 1. So minute 1 was time for the partners to get the materials ready and to identify who partner 1 was and who partner 2 was. Minute 2 consisted of me saying begin while partner 1 knew to start reading, and partner 2 would record the student's errors and stopping point. Minute 3, partner 2 would give feedback to partner 1. That could be total words that they read, how many errors they made in the corrections, and then correct words per minute. And the student also would record the correct words per minute on the graph. Minute 4 consisted of the teachers saying begin again, but partner 2 would read this time and partner 1 would record errors in the stopping point. Minute 5, partners would give feedback to partner 2, and partner 2 would record the correct words per minute on the graph. In minute 6, the partners would finish coloring the graphs if needed and would put away their materials. The data analysis that I used for this was the FAST-CBM. In the FAST-CBM, I used a 1-minute time test, and it was conducted by me. The students were tested individually, weekly, so I tested them every week on the same day and at the same grade level that they are in. So if they're in first grade, I used first grade. I did 3 testing windows to get my data for my results. I did a pre-test data, a baseline data, and a post-test data. I used this information to get my conclusion for the 10-week study. According to FAST, the CBM test and retest reliability was coefficient ranged from 0.87 to 0.98, depending on the grade level. The findings from the 6-minute solutions versus the standard reading instructions suggested that both interventions had a significant impact. Students' scores were increased actually a little more during the 6-minute solutions from the baseline phase. If you look at table 1, you can see that T equaled minus 6.11 and P was less than 0.001, and I used an alpha level of 0.05. On average, students scored 6.9 points higher on the baseline test than on the pre-test. And if you're looking over at the figure 1, you see that the mean the red was 26.8, and the standard deviation was 5.88. During the intervention phase, if you look back at table 1, T equaled minus 14.73, and P equaled less than 0.001 again, using the alpha level of 0.05. On average, students scored 7.1 points higher on the post-test than on the baseline test. And you can see in figure 1 that the students' mean score went from 33.7 up to 40.8, and the standard deviation went from 7.18 to 7.94. Results did not confirm my hypothesis because both interventions had significant impact on the students. The implications of my study, this was a very structured reading intervention for the participants. So the students knew when the timer went off, they knew exactly what to do and were focused on to improve their reading. It also helped build the students' fluency and motivated the students to grow because they would graph their progress every day, and I saw many kids smiling and getting excited with their peers and interacting with them about how much they grew. So you could see that they're very excited about using this intervention. Another implication for this was that there are so many different levels of passages that the students were able to, I was able to meet the needs of the students, and not all of them had to have the same passage. So that was very helpful. Some educators' implications were that 6-Minute Solution really promotes reading. It really tries to get those kids reading on their own and not having a teacher right next to them, having them say, read, read, read. It also got them to engage with other students. 6-Minute Solution is also a very had structured procedures, so I knew exactly what to do every minute, and I wasn't second guessing myself. It was very quick and easy. Once again, it encouraged peer interaction, which a lot of research is showing that peer interaction is one thing that you really want to push, and so I have been working on that. It also has easy access to materials and is very organized. It made it very friendly for me to organize my materials. Some limitations are that it was a very short amount of time. I only had 10 weeks to do my intervention. So that was a limitation. It also only lasted 6 minutes per day. It also took away from specially designed instruction, which could be a huge influence or a huge impact on the students because they needed the other instruction. And then it was a small sample size because I only used 10 participants, and all students had reading disabilities. Some recommendations that I would suggest are a longer length of study. This could mean across the year rather than just 10 weeks. So start at the very beginning of the year, end at the very end of the year. A larger group of participants rather than just special education students, probably all the kids that struggle with reading fluency. Additional time, it was only 6 minutes. I would suggest doubling the minutes for the younger grades and doing 12 minutes. So every 2 minutes you would rotate to the next thing. And then also just continuing research to see if this is a valid intervention to help increase students' reading fluency. I believe that is it. So here are my references. Thanks for watching.